name is Charles Staley. I'm the chair of ArtSpeaks, and I'm just representing all the members of the board in sort of being the facilitator of this conversation about the arts as a part of a comprehensive education. We asked our department chairs at all three of our high schools, we need exemplars, people who are very active in the arts and are pursuing their dreams in college, so that we could ask them to come forward and sort of share with us a little bit about their background in the arts, a little bit about what they're thinking about related to the college that they're going to attend. You know, anybody, how many seniors do we have in here? How many seniors? How many of you have heard from your colleges that you've applied to? Most everybody. So they already know pretty much where they're going to college, so they'll share a little bit about that process they went through and what role the arts played in that process. And then we have two professionals here, a scientist from Argonne National Laboratories and a sales executive from Google, and both of them are going to share a little bit about their background and how the arts play a role in their lives, and how it has sort of informed their thinking and helped them be successful in their careers. At the end of this presentation, we will entertain any questions that you have as well. Our keynote speaker is Tim Harmont from Google, and that will be the very final thing that we do. So there's the format. Hello, Rachel and Lauren, Liam, Ben, our students. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves formally and say what school that they go to. Tell us a little bit about their background in the arts and some of the things that went into their selection of their college, sort of the process. And we'll start with that, and then I have a few questions for them. So we'll start with Rachel.
Hey. I think, okay, yes. Hi, I'm Rachel McMullen. I'm a senior at Neuqua Valley High School. And my experience with the arts is maybe, I guess, a little different from some other people here, which is why I was chosen. But I've been dancing since the age of 8. I was first on a studio company, and then I ended up being a part of, at Neuqua, we have an orchestra dance company, which I was a member of for the past 4 years. And I'm very involved in the music program as well at our school. I play in the orchestra. I'm in the chamber strings. I play the viola. And I also dabble in vocal things. I'm in the musical right now, and I sing in my church choir. So the arts have been a very large part of my life. I'd say they make up the majority of my extracurriculars. And when I was applying to college, I think that was something that made me stand out from some of the other applicants. I ended up being accepted to all of my top choice schools except for one where I was waitlisted at the University of Chicago. And next year I am going to be attending the University of Notre Dame with their Notre Dame Scholar Award. Was that, did I cover everything? Am I good? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Laura Murray. I'm a senior at Metea Valley High School. I've been doing art since I was little, and when I moved here from Michigan, I started with the art program here. I've been in painting, drawing, photography, computer graphics. Coming into high school, I wanted to be a computer graphic artist, and then coming out, I'm going to become a photojournalism. I've been working in AP Art Studio this year, and I'm doing 2 portfolios, one for photography, one for painting and drawing. And next year, I'm going to go to COD for a year, and then I'm going to transfer over to Ohio University in their journalism program. They have accepted me there. I applied to like 2 schools, for 2 of the top photojournalism schools, which is Western Kentucky and Ohio University. I got into both, and that was the major thing, is getting into the best photojournalism school I could get into. So.
Hello, my name is Liam Byrnes, and my involvement in the arts started at a relatively young age. I started out in Miss Jones's Music Together class. I know a couple of the music directors also have their children there. But and then I started getting involved in community theater and eventually had some professional opportunities as well. And then when I got into 5th grade, I started playing trombone. And at middle school, I was one of those combo students, so I was involved in both choir and band, playing trombone and singing in Mr. Fenninger's men's chorus as well as curricular chorus. And when I got to high school, I got to the point where I was told that I needed to make a choice between band and between choir. And I wasn't really satisfied with that because I really did have a passion for both. And so I sent a lot of emails. I asked a lot of questions to both students and faculty. And I actually found out a way that I can continue curricularly being involved in both band and choir. And that's something I've made work for all 4 years while still managing to take a foreign language. And I'm also very involved extracurricularly, both, with marching band and also with vocal things as well. And so as I was applying to colleges, one of the very first questions I would ask schools is, how can I stay involved in the arts? How can I make, this passion of mine, although it's not something I necessarily want to go into professionally, how can I stay very involved in that? And so my college search ultimately came down to 2 schools, George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and here I'm going to DePauw in Greencastle, Indiana. I'm very excited about that. And the neat thing that really made me feel like DePauw was the wonderful choice for me was a lot of outreach, both from music faculty and from, regular, teachers in the College of Liberal Arts who really, came out and they said, hey, we see that you have this passion for music and this is a place where we feel like you can really, stay involved in both of those things very heavily. And so I'll actually be double majoring as a Bachelor of Musical Arts. I was awarded a music scholarship. And so that's where I'll be fulfilling that, and I'll also be having a political science major in their College of Liberal Arts. So that's where I will be next year.
Hi, I'm Ben Gruman. I am at Waubonsie Valley High School. I've been playing cello since I was 6, and I started euphonium in 5th grade and played through 6th grade before I switched to orchestra. I'm currently in chamber strings. I've been in the marching band. In 6th grade, I played trumpet in the jazz band and picked that back up this year, so I'm playing trumpet in jazz ensemble. I also sing in Mosaic choir at Waubonsie, and we're in full swing in the musical right now, so I have been involved in pretty much everything. I applied to 4 schools, and I made it into U of I and Iowa State University, and Iowa State has given me a scholarship for playing the cello, so I will be attending Iowa State next year, studying electrical engineering.
We've never had anybody say, oh, I'm really happy that I stopped being in the arts. There's never been somebody who quit and then said, yeah, that was a good decision. All we ever hear whenever anybody's talking about, we talk to parents all the time, they say, I wish I'd continued in my lessons on piano and my parents let me quit. Parents, isn't that great how we get blamed for it when we have adults and they have their own kids and they're still saying, my parents let me quit. And truly that many times it's just getting over that hurdle of this doesn't work for me. It's not beautiful. It doesn't sound good. I'm going to quit. And then you just need somebody to encourage you to say, it will sound beautiful. It is going to be okay for you. You need to be diligent. You need to have grit. You need to be okay about failing for now, because ultimately how you learn is you fail and you succeed and you fail and you succeed. There's a cycle there. And these kids have done it in spades. And it's so great because you listen to the willingness that they have to try new things. Can you imagine what it would be like if you asked Rachel when she was 3 years old, are you going to be doing this when you're a senior? Of course, she'd have no concept of that. How could I do all those things? Yet here she is doing all those things because she's experimenting, she's reaching, she's going outside of her comfort zone. And these people are the ones who are going on into something not necessarily in the arts that represent the majority of the people who are involved in the arts in our high schools, when we've done a survey, 95% of our students are not going on in the arts. That's not a tragedy, it's a fact. They're in the arts. They are artists, they are musicians, dancers, they are actors. And they're going to pursue a career as a chemical engineer or a lawyer or undecided. But their identity centers around their involvement in the arts. So I have this question for our artists, musicians, actors, and what did I forget? Dancers. The four of you up here. Can you trace any skills that you really feel like make you confident, that make you who you are? Can you trace any of those skills that make you who you are and make you confident and make you able to succeed and make you willing to take risk? Can you trace any of that to the arts, and how can you describe that? Is that easy for you to talk about?
Sure. One of the things I learned this past year, I was drum major of the Marching Warriors. One of the things you learn in that kind of position is that not everything you do is going to work, and that's okay. You have to step up and do it. It's better to have somebody volunteer to do something than to have nobody do it and then nothing gets done. So it's okay when things don't go quite as well as you thought they would. And somebody has to step up. And so it's really valuable to be that one who does that. And I learned that through being drum major of the marching band.
I think one of the most important things that I've gleaned from my experience with the arts is that things are hard and you have to work at them. And this seems like a very simple sort of lesson, but when you just start out in the arts and you're 8 years old and you're taking your first ballet class, all you can think about is how fun it is and how fun it is to run around the studio and jump up and down. And as you continue with that specific art, if it's ballet, if it's not, that element of fun still exists, but it's only after you've been studying it. And I use the word studying purposefully because the arts, just like anything academic, is something that you have to study and you have to break down and you have to figure out how things work and how things work in your body and in your hands. And if you're playing an instrument, I never really learned that lesson from my experience with school. I never learned that sometimes things aren't going to be easy and you have to put effort into breaking them down and making them being able to accomplish them. Accomplishable, I'm not sure is a word. But I think it is that experience that has made me the student I am today, and I label myself as a student of everything, of academics, of the arts, of life in general, because looking at something and realizing that it is more complex than it seems, but only showing the most beautiful parts of it, is something that we all have to work on.
For me, what helped me was actually the music department and the art department, because they really pushed me to start talking to people. I used to talk to a lot of people, but most of them were the same age as me. So I was an unofficial part of the Marching Mustangs for 3 years now. I would follow them everywhere, and I had to talk to the band directors and be like, hey, can I come on this trip? I want to take photos. Or, hey, and it made me a really pushy person, honestly. I used to not be able to go up to people and ask for help, but now I'm able to actually go up to people and talk to them, being like, hey, I'm here, I need to do this. And it made me actually get an internship in downtown Chicago and do all these things with my life already, and it's been the biggest part of my life. So
yeah, going right along off of what she just said, I think that one of the most important things that you can learn at this age is self-advocacy. And by no choice of my own, I've had to learn to be able to advocate for others, but also, I think for myself, and that's an important thing that not everyone at our age is able to do. And the reason being so heavily involved and having lots of different commitments, which are healthy things, there does come, inevitably there will be conflicts. Inevitably there will be times where, people want your time and you're not always able to provide that. And so the result is you have to go ahead and approach directors, like she was saying, and say, hey, here's the situation. Here's a plan that I propose. And, can we make this work? Can we, honor both these commitments? And what I've found is people are willing to work with you, but you have to take that first step and even better, offer a solution right off the bat, because I think that you're able to have a lot more success that way. And also just in general with the arts, I think another big takeaway for me has been the ability to be flexible and doing, things like theater or performances in front of lots of people. You have to be willing to, put your best self out there, but you also have to be willing to, adapt. And in the theatrical realm specifically, you have to play these roles that really challenge you and make you act in ways that maybe you're not entirely comfortable with at first, and move your body in certain ways that are unnatural. But I think that willingness to be flexible transfers off of the stage and it transfers into the classroom. And I do really, truly believe that it will transfer with me as I pursue college and in the workplace.
I think the last question I have for our esteemed students who are about to graduate, is that a title? There it is. Well, one of the things that we've found in our program, through our guided practice program, is that children who are starting out on instrument or starting out learning a new skill, who do they look up to? They are not looking at John Hangstrom with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra as their role model. They want to be these guys right here. They want to be in the high school. They want to be a senior. And we all accept that. Even when you're not a senior, you're an upperclassman. You're always moving to reach this status. So our school has this paper where it says, here's what the seniors have to say, and that is the single paper article in our school that gets read by everyone. Used to be everybody would read the paper. They don't do that anymore. As you know, they're too busy on Facebook. But for this particular issue, everybody's interested. Why? Everybody who remains, who's not graduating, wants to know what you're thinking and how you got to be who you are and where you are. So here's the question they want to ask of you. What advice would you give an incoming freshman related to his course of study? Now, the obvious thing is to keep the arts in your program, but there may be something else that you want to give for advice. So if you could just give just a little bit of advice for anybody who's coming into high school, what advice would you give them?
I think my advice would be in course selection. I know too many people who took band or orchestra or choir their freshman year and then dropped it because they wanted another 5-point class. For too many people, they want a higher GPA, which they think will be more impressive to colleges, and they sacrifice an experience in the arts to attain that. And I would say that is a mistake. I would stick with whatever your choice of art is for all 4 years. Your GPA might not be a perfect 5.0, but it's not going to be anyway because IPSD requires gym, which is not a weighted class. So I have stuck with orchestra, I've stuck with foreign language all 4 years, and this year those happened to be weighted, but all the other 3 they were not. And I'm still graduating summa cum laude. I think I said that right. I'm not sure. I don't speak Latin. And that, do they? Oh. And that's also something that will stand out to colleges more than a high GPA, because the fact of the matter is there are a lot of people out there with great numbers. There are not a lot of people that get to graduate from the best music program in the country. That's something impressive when you talk to admissions counselors and when you talk to the people that will be helping you get to the next stage of your life. It's not going to be impressive that you took an extra science or math class, even though I love science and math. But this is something unique that you can bring to whatever place you're going to next. And you should stick with it because it will teach you a lot more about life. And this is the one chance you're going to have, really, unless you're Liam Byrnes, or other people who are considering or continuing with art in college. This is your chance to do what you want to do.
I agree. Oh my goodness.
That was all right.
Yes, I agree with the comment about GPA. I think people focus way too much on the numbers, and what they don't realize is that colleges are smarter than just looking at you and saying, oh, you didn't take as many 5.0 classes, you must not be as smart. What's more valuable is that you do what you want to do in high school. You learn what you want to learn. You pursue the things you want to pursue, the things that you enjoy, and hopefully that'll feed your interests in college. And instead of pushing for the higher numbers, get involved with impressive things. Join the marching band, become a Tri-M executive board member. You'll find leadership things in the things that you're interested in. Colleges will like that, and they'll see that you're doing what you like. And you still have plenty of room for, weighted classes. Like I've taken 4 or 5 AP classes in the past 2 years. And I'm still in music. So you can still take impressive classes and do impressive educational things, or not educational, it's all educational. Do impressive, like STEM and language and things like that. You can do those things, and you can also impress them with your involvement in extracurricular activities and your prestige in music and things like, and the arts and other things like that.
Well, while I was applying for colleges, I feel like the most thing they looked at for me was my portfolio. I might have been applying to some of the best journalism schools around, but they only cared about my portfolio. They never even looked at my GPA or my ACT score. It was the most terrifying thing for me because I was like, I worked so hard for my GPA, but yet you never looked at it. But coming in there, I was like, I want a triple major. And they're like, you have no idea what these majors even mean then. But I separated my portfolio with commercial photography at the beginning, photojournalism in the middle, and art at the end. And they're like, well, now you kind of have to just triple major, I guess, because they thought I had no idea what these majors were. And I feel like as District 204's like biggest strong suit is like getting you well-rounded, and they want to see well-rounded students because even if I just go into one major, I will be able to apply those 2 other things that I can do to that one major. Like schools would see the portfolio that's so organized and so like you know what you're doing and all these different things. And like some schools like would offer me scholarships right on the spot, be like, here's like $10,000, go to our school. But I was like, your school's still really expensive. But the point is like, I would say well-rounding is like the most important thing because coming into school, like I was like, I want to do math every single year and double year, and do 2 math classes senior year in all the summer schools math because I don't know why. I was really into math at the time. And
not anymore.
Well, it got hard after after sophomore year it gets hard.
It's time to do that.
But honestly, like my schools never even looked at which math classes I took. Like I was sitting at my interviews talking to kids and they would be like, oh yeah, only 20 kids get into this program. And I would be like, oh, did not know that. That's great. But I was talking to them and all of them would be like, oh, I'm still in geometry as a senior. And I would be like, is that possible? But that's cool. Like that's nice. Like, and they would get accepted. So I believe like in like well-rounding yourself just because you can't just be strong in every single, like you can't just be strong in one aspect. They want something that's like you're good all around.
I get get the chance to talk to a lot of 8th grade students who are also band in choir, band in orchestra, what we call the combo kids. And they always ask me, okay, like, what do I do now? I kind of like both. I want to, maybe do both, but maybe just one. Like, what do I do? And I always tell them, well, at the end of the day, I don't think it's so much important if, you choose band or choir or orchestra or any combination of the three. I think what is important is that you stay involved in the arts in some capacity, even if it's visual arts and that kind of thing. And the reason I say that is because, what's great about ArtSpeaks is that we get this message out, on all the things that the arts do for students beyond just the experience that they have in the classroom, the music classroom, whether it be performing better or that kind of thing. And academic performance is great, but I think the truly valuable thing that I've gained from the arts is that ability to communicate and advocate and collaborate with my peers and with faculty. And that's a skill that maybe, it's not totally tangible in the college application, but it's something that's going to serve us well, no matter what we end up doing. But what will serve us well in the college application is our involvement in the arts and the things that we've done, because I can tell you that I did numerous college interviews and they would ask the formalities and that kind of thing. But one of the first questions they would ask after we kind of got the framework out of the way was, what are you really passionate about? What gets you going? What gets you excited? When are you the most engaged? And I don't know if I would be able to have, that fire and that passion, talking about maybe an academic class I took. But when I thought about my experiences in music classes, I was able to immediately have tons of things to say in regards to their question. And also, if, even that's not enough, to persuade you, as I've kind of continued on through the college process, when it came to figuring out how I'm going to take care of that price tag that's way higher than it should be, the thing that I had to, figure out is, okay, well, what kind of scholarship opportunities do I have? And what I was really excited to find is that so many of these schools that we apply to and hopefully get into, they offer scholarships that are just for music kids, and not all of them even have to be music majors. For example, I was able to fly out to Washington, D.C. this spring and audition for a program called the Presidential Scholar of the Arts program. Now, that's a cool program, but you don't even have to be a music major in order to apply for that, and that's $15,000 a year for $60,000 over total, so over 4 years. And so, that's a big deal, and I've found that is the case at a number of schools in terms of they're very willing to talk to you and find out what you're passionate about, and oftentimes pay you for what you're passionate about. And so, my reason to tell you to continue in music wouldn't be for the money, but I would say that it opens so many doors that I think at our age, we're not able to totally see, but my vision is kind of finally starting to be realized as I see that music is leading and paving a path for me down the road.
And I think that one of the reasons that we have the panel made up the way that we do is, are these just dreamers? Are these guys just dreaming about how life is going to be? Mm-hmm. Or is it possible that what they are dreaming or expressing to you is the way their life has been is really going to be actualized? Is this something that can actually happen? So we have two professionals to help us understand if this is actually part and parcel with being successful in the real world. And I'd like to ask Dr. Julie Jastrow to give a little bit about her background and tell us a little bit about her story.
Okay, so I am a scientist, a staff scientist at Argonne National Lab. I'm an ecologist. You might wonder, what does an ecologist do at a national lab, a Department of Energy lab? And it's all about the environmental impacts of energy production and energy use. And you may not know this, but ecosystem science, as it's known today in the U.S., essentially started or essentially evolved in the 1950s and 60s in the national lab system as people were trying to understand what the impacts of nuclear energy development would be, the results of the Manhattan Project and some of the things that were done there. And so I've had a long career there doing a variety of things, mostly with vegetation and soils. The last 20 years related to climate change and amount of CO2, carbon dioxide that's going into the atmosphere, how that's a greenhouse gas, how that affects the atmosphere, the warming and that kind of a thing. And the carbon that's in the earth has, in the terrestrial system, there is roughly almost 4 times as much carbon stored in soils as there is in the atmosphere. So a small change in what's in the soil could have a big effect, both in terms of taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, putting it in. And so that a large share of my career has been focused on what is it that stabilizes that carbon in the soil and influences exchanges. And right now we're focused on the permafrost region because about 1/3 of the carbon that's in soils is actually frozen in permafrost. And so the northern polar areas are actually warming faster than mid-latitudes. So you can imagine if you have something in your freezer, and a lot of this carbon's been there for tens of thousands of years, if you take what's in your freezer and put it in the fridge, it's going to start to go bad slowly, but it's still going to start to go bad. So then imagine you unplug that fridge and what's going to happen then. So basically what we're talking about is a lot of carbon, a lot of dead plant material that's kept up there simply because it's frozen. And when that thaws, we're trying to figure out what will happen to it. And because of the remoteness of it, we don't know nearly as, what we do know is reasonably good, but it's very uncertain compared to the information that we have from more mid-latitudes and even in the tropics, because access is so hard and working up there under those conditions are quite hard as well. So the goal of what we're trying to do is to get a better handle on how much carbon is there and what will happen to it as the frozen conditions are no longer, the cold conditions are no longer keeping it there. So that's what I'm doing. In terms of what music played in my role, or the arts played in my role, for as long as I can remember, I've been attracted to both music and to nature. So when I was 1.5 to 7 years old, my family lived in Champaign-Urbana, and it was at a time where we didn't have a TV for part of that time, and we didn't have air conditioning, and in the summer there were concerts on the quad, and the Illinois Summer Youth Music Program had its concerts not in Krannert Center as they do now, but outside under a tent. And so my family would take me there and we would listen to these concerts. And my parents let me wander around, and I actually remember, I don't know, I was 3, 4 years old, one of those kids that wandered up, up by the band, just behind the conductor, off to the side, leaning up against one of the posts that hold up the tent. And I remember just being fascinated by what was going on. The kids' fingers moving, sounds coming out, just, watching all of that. I'm told I started mimicking the conductor. I don't remember that part. But I do remember getting taken to a football game and watching the marching Illini and being really impressed with their orange pants at the time, and standing up in the stands with a little bamboo baton conducting the marching Illini. So when I got into grade school in 3rd grade, I was like, oh God, when can I get into the band? And so finally 5th grade came, I joined, I got involved. I loved it. We moved between 8th grade and high school, and we moved to a program that was at that time one of the best in the state. Wonderful director and very good experience, and that became really my thing and what I did. And at that point, I started thinking, and I should back up on the science side here, just give you a little background from the younger ages. When I was in grade school, I preferred reading things like the field guide to birds, rocks, stars, you name it, over fiction. So that gives you an idea what's going on there. And so when I get into high school, though, I start to seriously think about, well, maybe I'd like to go into music, but I still like the science. And so there was this constant, thing going back and forth with me. And I went off to college. I played a lot in high school, did a lot of great things, and then went off to college and knew I wanted to continue playing all through college. I went as a science major, but in the back of my head, I didn't give up the thought of transferring to music until about junior year. But I was at University of Illinois in Champaign for 6 years, 4 years as an undergrad and 2 years as a master's student. Played in the top band all 6 years. Also played in, well, I guess it's fair to say I probably played as much or more than the average music major, maybe most music majors. I took studio lessons from the bassoon professor there for 4 years, all through undergrad. I was in a woodwind quintet that also was a class that I got credit for. I was in the College of Agriculture. They didn't know how to deal with the credits that I was getting in the music programs, but that was okay. I was in the orchestra. I was in the Champaign-Urbana Symphony playing with some of the faculty. I did some gigs with the Danville Symphony. I was in the Marching Illini for a while. Let's see, what else? Oh, did a couple of operas, not as a singer. Although I was on stage once with my bassoon. But anyway, I basically went to my advisors in college and I said, I have to be in these programs. I don't care how we jiggle my schedule around, this is what I have to do. And they worked with me and it was great. And so, I think that in the end, if you want to do these things, you should do them, and there's always a way to figure it out, and there's always time to squeeze it in if you want to do it. And so I think then as I got out of school, I continued to play in community groups all the way up until we had kids, and then something had to give, trying to work and being married to a band director who has a busy schedule, and dealing with kids, something had to give. But the skills that I learned, the attention to detail, the collaboration and interactions with others as a team, communicating back and forth, understanding what each other is doing, the tenacity, the stick-to-itiveness, the fine motor skills that I developed making bassoon reeds carried out in the lab, all range of things. But if I wanted to sum up the whole thing, I would say that one of the biggest things I learned was goals and how to set goals. And we had big goals. When I was a freshman, it was a really big thing in those days, in my high school anyway, to be an all-state musician. And in those days, there were 150 in the band, that's all. And only, maybe 4 or 5 kids from any one school might get to go. And so I saw that as a freshman, and I was like, I want to do that. And so I set about trying to figure out what I needed to do to reach that goal. And I did. And so I began to learn you can have these long-range goals, and to get to them, you have short-range goals in the middle, and you go one step at a time. And so you don't get frustrated in terms of how am I going to get from here to there in the next 4 years or the next 6 years. But, what's the short-term goal? I can't play this passage. I'll work on that. And when I achieve that goal, that's great. On to the next. And so it's a whole series of goals. And working in science is no different. It's a constant setting of goals. And it's even something that we're required to do as we do proposals. So, we have to put together, here's our 3-year plan, and here's where we want to be in 10 years. So I think those are things that I carry through.
So I want to thank all of our panelists for being with us today, and we're going to move to our keynote speaker, but everybody, let's thank our panelists.